For regular videos on ancient cultures and forgotten civilizations, please subscribe.
I mean, just look at this for yourself. What do you see there? I mean, how could they possibly have known about planets rotating around the sun 6,000 years ago?
I think he means revolving around the sun. But yes, look at this for yourself. What about this image is showing revolution or rotation or motion of any kind? Now, I do realize that pictures don't move, but if Bright is going to assert that the picture is depicting motion, there has to be something in the picture to indicate that, lines or something. Otherwise, you can't make the assertion that it is depicting motion. But maybe he simply misspoke and means only that the image is depicting the solar system. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt on that point. In order to verify this conclusion, what would we need? Well, more images like it for comparison would help. That star in the middle is seen on other seals and works of art. Images of stars are fairly common in Sumerian art, though I think you could have figured out it was a star on your own. Bright, however, does not think it is a mere star, but is in fact the sun. Now you might say, well, the sun is a star. But you see, the Sumerians' terminology does not correspond to ours. Their word mul, kakabu in Akkadian, which is usually translated into English as star, applied to all shining objects in the sky, except for the sun and the moon. It was a generic term, even used for planets. They were bright, shiny objects up there too. It was also used for whole constellations. A different word, udu idim, bibu in Akkadian, was used for the sun, moon, and known planets. The term usually gets translated into English as planet, but as you can see, since it was applied also to the sun, it's not a precise translation. My point is that they put the sun in a different category than stars. And in their art, they used a different symbol for the sun than they used for the stars. They differentiated between them. This is the symbol they used for the sun, and these are the symbols they used for stars. There are a variety of forms for the stars, but only one for the sun. So whenever you're looking at Mesopotamian images and you see this one, you now know you're looking at the sun. And when you see this image, you know that you're looking at a star. So the image on Ili Ilat's seal is easily identifiable as a star and not the sun. The fact that there is no sun in this image alone demonstrates that it is not depicting the solar system. But you see, Bright is using the "it looks like it, therefore it is" method of interpretation, and he continues to run with it. There's a problem with that approach. It leaves us susceptible to the very common tendency to associate images with things that we ourselves are familiar with, rather than what the people who made it were familiar with. No image from any culture should be studied in isolation or from our own biased perspective. It should be compared to other images that culture has left us so that we can see it in context. Wouldn't you say that makes sense? Wouldn't you agree that trying to interpret an image all by itself without researching the beliefs of the people who created it, not to mention their artistic styles, techniques, and motifs, would lead to wrong conclusions?
Isn't that more than 5,000 years before Copernicus identified that planets rotated around the sun? In just the same period of time before even the first telescope was invented. Wouldn't you need a telescope to know that there was planets out there?
Here's an image of the solar system from Copernicus. Honestly now, do you think the Sumerian one conveys the same information? Copernicus's image shows the orbits and names of each of the planets, and Copernicus explains his concept of the solar system in a full book about the solar system. The Sumerian image appears on an individual's seal that has nothing to do with science or astronomy. You should know, however, that the Mesopotamians did write about their view of the cosmos elsewhere. We don't have any astronomical texts before about 1800 BCE, but since the texts we have are systematized and contain Sumerian names for the heavenly bodies, it is reasonable to assume the views expressed in these texts have their origins in Sumerian times. If Bright really wanted to bolster his argument, he would go to these writings to demonstrate that the Sumerians truly did have knowledge of the solar system. But he doesn't do that because they would show that they didn't have such knowledge. Take note, the Sumerians drew the stars as circles sometimes. They drew stars this way, this way, this way, and this way. So yes, it is a perfectly rational conclusion that these are stars. But you might reasonably ask, if in this image they are all stars, why did they draw one star different from all the rest? A reasonable answer is that they wish to give prominence to the one star over the others. You see, Mesopotamian astronomical texts divide the sky, the lower heavens, into 3 bands that stretch from east to west, each band named for a god: the path of Enlil, the path of Anu, and the path of Ea. In each path are 12 month stars. Each month, one of those month stars takes prominence through a heliacal rising, or star rise. This occurs once a year when the star briefly becomes visible above the eastern horizon at dawn, just before sunrise. Note that there are exactly 12 stars in this image, so what we are probably seeing here are 12 month stars, with one of them rising, taking prominence over the others.